There are moments in life when someone hurts us deeply. Their words or actions leave a mark that does not fade easily. We may try to move on, but the wound stays, quiet yet heavy. Even after years, a small memory can open it again. The pain returns as if it never left. Forgiveness sounds simple when spoken. Many say, "You should just forgive." But when you sit alone with your feelings, you realize it is not so easy. The mind can say, "I forgive," yet the heart stays closed. You may smile and continue with your day, but somewhere inside, a quiet anger still breathes. This anger is not always loud. Sometimes it hides behind silence or distance. You may not even realize how much energy it takes to carry it. Like holding a stone in your hand, the longer you hold it, the heavier it feels. Over time, that weight begins to shape the way you see yourself and others. It can make you cautious, cold, or afraid to trust again. There is no shame in feeling this way. Pain asks to be seen before it can change. To forgive too soon is like covering a wound that has not been cleaned. The healing takes time, and in that time, we learn what the pain is trying to teach us about love, boundaries, and our own humanity. When someone hurts us, our first reaction is often to protect ourselves. We build a wall to keep the pain away. That wall may look like anger, pride, or silence. Inside, we believe that holding on to our pain keeps us safe. We think, if I forgive too soon, they might hurt me again. This is a natural thought. The mind tries to guard the heart. But forgiveness is not about saying that what happened was right. It does not mean we must forget or welcome the person back. Still, something inside resists. It feels unfair. We say, "They do not deserve my forgiveness." Yet if we look closely, the person who suffers most from this resistance is often ourselves. The pain lives with us, not with them. We also struggle because we want understanding before we let go. We want the other person to see our pain, to apologize, to show regret. When that does not happen, forgiveness feels impossible. We wait for justice before we can release our anger. But life is not always fair in the way we expect. Some people never say sorry, and some never understand. Forgiveness becomes hard when our hearts are still asking for something they may never receive. That is why it takes courage to even think about forgiving. It is not weakness. It is one of the hardest things we can face as human beings. In this struggle, we begin to see how complex the heart truly is. When we are hurt, we often wish to heal quickly. We want the pain to disappear, to feel light again. But the heart does not follow the same time as the clock. Days, months, even years may pass, and still something inside remains tender. We may wonder why it takes so long. Yet time itself is part of the healing. In the beginning, the wound feels sharp and close. Every thought touches it. As time passes, life slowly grows around the pain. New moments appear, simple ones, like a kind smile, the sound of rain, or morning light through the window. These moments do not erase the past, but they begin to remind us that not everything is broken. Time gives us distance. From that distance, we can see our pain differently. We begin to understand that the person who hurt us was also acting from their own suffering, their own confusion. This understanding does not excuse them, but it softens the edges of our anger. It allows us to breathe again. Sometimes people say, "Time heals all wounds." That is not always true. Time alone does not heal. It offers space. What we do in that space matters. If we keep reopening the wound, it stays raw. But if we allow life to flow gently around it, something quiet begins to change. One morning, we may wake up and realize that the pain feels lighter, like a stone that has slowly turned to sand. Healing does not always happen in moments of great insight. Often, it moves quietly, beneath the surface of our daily life. While we go about our routine, washing dishes, walking outside, or sitting in the stillness of night, the heart is working. It does not need words. It simply keeps turning pain into understanding, little by little. We may not notice this process. We think nothing is changing, but the heart has its own rhythm. It takes time to loosen the knots that anger and sadness have tied. Some days we feel lighter, other days the old pain returns. This is not failure. It is the natural movement of healing. Forward, backward, and forward again. There is a kind of grace in this quiet work. It asks for patience, not pressure. When we allow ourselves to rest, to breathe without expectation, the heart finds room to move. It knows when to open, when to close, and when to simply wait. Even in silence, it is doing its sacred work. Sometimes we feel that healing must come from effort, from thinking, talking, or searching for meaning. But the deepest changes often happen when we stop trying so hard. Like the soil after rain, the heart softens when it is simply left in peace. And in that softness, something unseen begins to grow, a small tenderness, a willingness to live with what once felt impossible to bear. When we think of forgiveness, we often imagine another person, the one who caused our pain. But with time, we begin to see that the hardest person to face is sometimes ourselves. We remember the moments when we reacted in anger, or when we could not speak up, or when we stayed too long in a hurtful situation. These memories whisper, "You should have known better." This quiet blame can be heavy. We carry it like a shadow. We may forgive others but still struggle to forgive ourselves. It feels easier to punish the person inside because we know their every fault. Yet, true healing cannot begin while we are still at war with ourselves. Facing the person within does not mean excusing our mistakes. It means looking honestly at who we were, with all our fear and confusion, and saying, "You did the best you could at that time." We are always learning, even through pain. Every wound teaches something that peace alone cannot. When we allow a little kindness toward our past selves, something begins to shift. The same compassion we wish to give or receive from others starts to awaken inside us. We realize that the journey of forgiveness is not only about what was done to us, it is also about who we become afterward. In forgiving ourselves, we make space for gentleness. The heart that once carried only sorrow learns to hold both pain and peace together, and slowly the distance between them begins to fade. Sometimes forgiveness begins not with a decision, but with understanding. Understanding is like a light that allows us to see more clearly, not to excuse what happened, but to understand why it may have happened. When someone hurts us, their actions are often born from their own fear, confusion, or pain. This does not make their behavior right, yet it shows us that suffering often repeats itself through people who have never learned another way. When we start to see this, our anger begins to lose some of its sharpness. We realize that human beings, including ourselves, act out of limitation as much as intention. It is difficult to harm others when we truly understand them. That is why understanding can open the first small door toward forgiveness. Still, understanding must come naturally. It cannot be forced. If we try to understand too soon, while our heart is still raw, it can feel like betraying our own pain. Real understanding grows with time, when the storm has quieted. It is a gentle awareness that comes when we can look at the past without flinching. Sometimes this understanding never involves words or explanations. The person who hurt us may never speak again, yet within us, something begins to soften. We see how fragile all humans are, how easily we lose our way. This realization brings a kind of humility, a reminder that we all live between light and shadow. From that place, forgiveness no longer feels like surrender. It feels like freedom. There are times when we want to forgive, yet we simply cannot. The words feel empty. The heart refuses to follow. We may tell ourselves that we should be more spiritual, more kind, more patient. But forgiveness is not a task on a list. It is not something we can demand from ourselves before we are ready. To force forgiveness is to place another burden on a heart that is already tired. It is like asking a flower to bloom in winter. The soil must first feel the warmth of spring before anything can grow. In the same way, the heart needs safety before it can open. It needs time to trust that the pain will not return. Some people think that holding on means failure, but sometimes holding on is simply part of the process. It means we are still protecting a tender part of ourselves. This protection is not wrong, it is human. When the time comes, that same heart will know when to release. It will not need to be told. Forgiveness that grows naturally feels different. It does not erase the past, but it changes how we live with it. The memory remains, yet it no longer controls us. We can remember without burning, and that quiet shift cannot be rushed. So if forgiveness has not yet arrived, let it be. The waiting itself is sacred. Something unseen is unfolding, even when we cannot name it. Forgiveness does not always arrive as a great awakening. More often, it begins as small moments of peace that appear unexpectedly. One day, the memory that once brought tears feels softer. Another day, we realize that we have not thought about the hurt for a while. These are gentle signs that the heart is beginning to breathe again. The process is quiet, almost invisible. We might notice it while doing something ordinary, watching the sky change color in the evening, hearing laughter in a nearby room, feeling the comfort of warm light through a window. In those simple moments, the weight we have carried seems to loosen, just a little. These small openings do not mean we have fully forgiven. They simply show that peace is finding its way back to us. Each time we allow a bit of calm to enter, the heart grows more spacious. The pain still exists, but it no longer takes up all the room. There is space now for something else: kindness, memory, even quiet gratitude for how far we have come. Forgiveness often begins here, in these small openings. It is not a single choice, but a series of gentle surrenders. The heart opens and closes many times before it can stay open for good. And even then, forgiveness is not a finish line. It is a way of living with what has been broken, without letting it define who we are. These moments remind us that peace does not need to be perfect to be real. Even a small light can guide us through the dark. There often comes a moment, unexpected, unplanned, when something inside simply lets go. It may not happen during deep reflection or prayer. It might come while folding laundry, driving, or hearing an old song. Suddenly, the tension that has lived inside for so long begins to ease. The memory still exists, but the sting has softened. What once felt like a wound now feels like a scar, still there, but no longer painful to touch. This quiet moment of release is not dramatic. There are no fireworks, no music, no clear announcement that forgiveness has arrived. It is more like a gentle exhale after years of holding your breath. You realize that you can think of the past without anger, and that the person who hurt you no longer has power over your peace. In that moment, forgiveness is not something you do. It is something that happens through you. The heart, tired of fighting, simply opens. There is no need to decide or declare. The release comes as naturally as the tide leaving the shore. And yet, even this moment is not the end. Life will continue to bring memories, challenges, and new forms of pain. But something has changed. You now know that the heart can heal, that time and honesty can turn pain into wisdom. The wound that once closed you off has become a doorway to understanding. Forgiveness, in the end, is not about the past. It is about finding the freedom to live fully again, without carrying yesterday into today. Thank you for walking with me through these reflections on forgiveness. If you have listened until this moment, it means you have carried your own stories, your own quiet battles of the heart. Speaking about forgiveness is never easy, because it touches the most tender parts of being human. Yet, by sharing this time together, we have already practiced a kind of healing, listening with openness and patience. Forgiveness takes time. It moves slowly, like the seasons changing. Some days feel clear, others cloudy. But each moment of honesty, each breath of acceptance, helps the heart to rest a little more. If anything you heard here has brought you even a small sense of peace, I am deeply grateful. That peace belongs to you. It was always within you, simply waiting to be seen. To those who have supported this channel with kindness, through your likes, your thoughtful comments, and your subscriptions, please know how much that means. To those who have offered super thanks or joined as members, your generosity helps this small space of reflection continue to exist. I am sincerely thankful for your presence, for your listening, and for your gentle hearts across the world. May your days be touched by quiet strength. May your nights bring rest to what still aches inside. And when forgiveness feels far away, may you remember that even the smallest step toward peace is already enough.